Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 2247. The topic is mindset, and the title is Time Isn't an Excuse. So yes, this will piss off some people, probably even like my older self, but it's good for us to take a look at the excuse of time. Meaning when people say they don't have time. They want to achieve something, they have a goal in mind, whether it's a short term, they just wanted to do a certain thing by the end of the day, or long term, they want to be physically fit, or they want to lose X number of pounds, they want to get this level of strong, they want to build this amount of muscle, whatever they might want to achieve, whether it's short term or long term. One of the many reasons that people use for why they aren't achieving it yet or didn't achieve it is they say that they don't have time. Time is an invalid excuse, and the reason why is time is constant. Time is not malleable, meaning you can't change it, you can't have more of it, you can't really have less of it. The people who have achieved what you want to achieve don't have more time than you do. The people who don't achieve what you want to achieve don't have less time than the successful people. Time is not something that anyone, regardless of money, regardless of skill, talent, resources, whatever, no one can have more time or less time. There are elements that allow you to better utilize time. Oh, that's a totally different thing. So somebody might have, the ability to pay for a chef, so therefore they don't have to cook their own food. And that quote unquote gives them more time. No, it doesn't. They don't have more or less time. They were just able to get one of the things that they normally do done by someone else. We're going to be looking at today a term in regards to efficiency and how we can better utilize our time is the 4 Ds. We can delete, defer, delegate, or do. So one of the things that we can do is to delegate. And that's what money can do. With money, you can buy a chef, or you can get maybe some food prep services. With money, maybe you can pay for a maid service to come and clean up your house, and then that saves you time. We can also defer things. Maybe there are things we do that we don't need to do as often. So cooking, for example. Maybe you cook dinner fresh every single night, and you realize, hey, wait a second, hold on. At dinner, why don't I cook double the portions, and now I have lunch tomorrow? So I can cook once and get 2 meals. Or maybe if I cook once, maybe I'm cooking a meat like chicken, and I can use that tonight for chicken tacos, but the next night I can blend it with this thing and do it like a chicken bake with mixed vegetables. So you can better utilize what you're doing in regards to getting more uses for the time that you're spending, and that can be however you want to look into that, whether that's deferring it or just being better at whatever you do, doing it better. The idea is we can better do what we do. We can better manage what we have to do. And that gives us a sense of having more time for things that we want to do. So the less time we have to spend doing on monotonous, boring, dumb crap, life stuff, then that does free up time that we have for the things that we want to do. So what we're trying to do within our time can be changed. But time itself cannot be changed. And it's important for us to be specific with our language. As in, why would I not want to say, I don't have enough time, when really what we mean is, I wish I was able to better utilize my time. You can say that they mean the same thing, but they don't. And the reason why is because if you say that time is your problem, you can't change time. Therefore, you're not going to look for ways to get around this problem. You're going to see it as an immovable object and nothing will ever change. Whereas if you say, you know what, maybe I'm not utilizing what I'm doing with the best. Like I can do things better and that can free up more time. That would be a great thing to say because that's something you can actually do. Often people like to structure the wording of excuses outside of their individual control because then it's not their fault that it's not being controlled properly. So when I say, I have so many things to do, I just don't have time for it, then that's not like, I have so many things to do, I'm mismanaging what I'm trying to do, right? It sounds easier for us to say we don't have time because it's another way of saying I'm not the problem. Whereas if we word it in a more accurate way, another way of wording that would be I am the problem. And nobody likes to be the problem. I understand that, myself included. Everything that I want to achieve in life that I'm not achieving right now, I am the problem. I am the reason why I don't have that. Yet. I'm always going to include the word yet because I'm still always learning and figuring it out. I haven't given up. But I am my own problem. I know that. And I'm always trying to seek and figure out what I can control, and of what I can I control it better than the way I'm controlling it now, so that way I can actually have what I want. I can achieve the things I want to achieve. I can have the things I want to have. Or if it's, not necessarily a tangible thing, I can just feel happier, if happier is something you want to pursue. If I want to have more time to be able to spend with my wife, then that's on me to better manage the things I'm doing that aren't time with my wife. So I always want to be the blame. I want to be the reason for everything I don't have, because I can change me. If I don't know how yet, I can continue to read books and listen to podcasts and search information. I can talk to people who have what I want. But if I'm the problem, I can change. So I want to be the problem. When we excuse away the problem outside of ourselves, we are giving up the control to make that change. We're giving up the opportunity to be successful. Because if I say time is the problem, I can't modify time. No one can modify time. So if time is the problem, then I'm just always going to have that problem. I'm never going to be successful. And for some people, they can find comfort in that because they haven't been successful so far. So, what does it really change? They're kind of content in their discontent. But if you're hungry and you're fired up and you're just freaking fed up of not having what you want to have, you cannot have the excuse be outside of yourself. You cannot have the excuse be something that you can't change. You can't have it be time. When we blame time, what we're really saying, without knowing we're saying it, is that we have incorrect expectations. We're trying to do too much. Or we don't have correct priorities. What we're doing, we're not doing in the right order. So we're getting some things done that don't matter as much as some of the things that we're not getting done. It's essentially, you can break it down to these two things. I'm sure there's more if I sat here and thought about it, but these are two that come to mind, and two that I discuss with clients all the time is, do we have proper expectations? So if a client is expressing that they always run out of time for XYZ, and usually it's food prep. I didn't have time for breakfast in the morning. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. You didn't properly prepare to have breakfast in the morning. That is the correct answer. And by saying you didn't properly prepare means that you have the ability to change how you prepared, and then therefore we can have breakfast in the morning. So if you're supposed to have breakfast in the morning, and you say you didn't have time for breakfast in the morning, you're full of shit. And you want to be full of shit. Because that means that you can change it and you can get time for what you want. I'll also have clients tell me if I don't have time for breakfast in the morning, can I just do intermittent fasting? And what they mean by that is, can I just not have breakfast in the morning and make sure I eat my lunch and my calories later in the day? And I'm like, okay, fine. We can rearrange when you eat, however it best fits your schedule. There are consequences with body composition and energy and daily performance and blah, blah, blah. There are consequences. There's pros and cons to any meal structure. But are certain things modifiable? Absolutely. And then we try that. We see if we like the sets of pros and cons. If we don't, we make some changes. It's just, everything's experiment. But you have to be willing to experiment. You have to be willing to change things if you want things to change. I know, that's a, amazing concept there. Huge words of wisdom. If we want things to change, we have to change things. No shit, right? But so often people get in this mindset of they have an excuse and they stop. Meaning I would like to lose weight, but I don't have time. So they stop. They don't try to figure out how to lose weight within what parameters they have. I've had multiple clients with 4 or more kids who have competed in strength sports, who've competed in aesthetic sports, who have reached a level of healthiness and happiness that they are very happy with. So kids can present themselves as a challenge to work around. But just because you have kids doesn't mean you can't have also health. You can't also compete. You can't also look good. In no way whatsoever. There's just some unique navigations you have to make if you have a lot of kids, or even one kid. If you have a demanding job, maybe you work 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Can you still compete? Hell yes. I've had clients do that. Can you still be physically fit? Hell yes. And I would actually argue in some ways it's easier because you don't have time to worry about food. There are challenges that all of us will face that can feel unique to us. But almost always, and I would say 99.9, and you can add as many nines as you want after that, you're not alone. Very rarely in the year 2025 is a person going to encounter a problem that no other human being has ever faced. Very rare. So rare as to say that I'd say like the answer is probably you're not. Again, 99.99999. You're not going to be the first person in the history of mankind to face this problem. So we want to find out, okay, well, how do others who have similar parameters as we do, have similar challenges as we do, how do they manage this? And that's a great question, because you're seeking an answer. You're seeking something to modify and change. And that's really what we want to do. We want to recognize that when we're using time as an excuse, it's boiling down to usually 2 things. One is we're expecting too much for the time that we have, which is, again, a constant. So we're expecting too much for what we're trying to do. We just have too many things that we're trying to be good at, or we're trying to successfully, check off the list. So we want to go through a process and say, okay, can I better define what matters most to me, make sure what matters most is addressed, and if I know I'm doing the best I can, then whatever I'm not getting done, I have to just accept that. So we have to work on our expectations within time, and then accepting that there are going to be limitations based on what we want to achieve within time. The other aspect is we're just not properly prioritizing what we're doing. So we're accomplishing a lot, but most of it or some of it isn't what really matters most. The process in which how we can account for these 2 circumstances is the same. Is we can list everything that we try to do. One method is to go through the day and list every 15 minutes, what am I doing? So cooking dishes, doing the laundry, cleaning the floor, talking with somebody, talking with a friend, searching social media for no reason whatsoever, doom scrolling, as they say. Maybe you're actually doing your job. Maybe you're working out. Maybe you're eating food. Whatever it is, you can go through your day and write down everything you're doing in 15 minutes. You can also just sit here and brain dump, press pause on this podcast, or do it before bed, or do it when you wake up. Just write down everything that you want to achieve, everything that you accomplish, everything you try to do every day. Just make a list. And chances are that list might need to grow over time. So you think of what you can in this moment, then maybe you add 1 or 2 things the next day or later on, a couple hours later. But the idea is to list everything that we're trying to do in a day. Once we have a list, we want to then prioritize and say, okay, what matters most? Now, what's fun about this, and an element that sometimes people miss, is you can prioritize on a daily basis. You can prioritize on an every 3-day basis, maybe an every week basis, every month basis. So for example, laundry isn't something that you probably have to do every day. If it is, buy more clothes. But laundry is something that you don't have to do every day, but do you have to do it eventually? Yes. So if you're struggling to say, well, where does laundry fall into my daily priority list? Don't list it per day. List it, okay, once a week I know I have to do laundry. Or maybe changing the bed. If you're change the bedspread and you do that every day, good on you. If you do it every 3 days, fine. If you do it every week, fine. Whatever your rotation is, I don't care. I'm not judging you. But there might be certain things we do that need to be done or addressed or accounted for every day. There might be some things that you can do on an every other day basis, maybe some things on a weekly basis, monthly. It's just the idea when we're listing our priorities is not everything is going to fall into a daily occurrence. It's okay, and that's the way life is. So we don't need to fit everything into a daily occurrence. We can write out a daily priority list. We can write out a per 3 day list if that's applicable to you. You can write out a per weekday versus a weekend list. You can write out a per week list. The idea is to think, okay, this is important to me. How often do I need to do this? And if you go through your list, and maybe before you even create the priorities, just write down the time frames. So I tried to work out today. Well, how many days a week do I need to work out? I would like to work out maybe 7, maybe 5, maybe 4, maybe 3. If it's a 3-day thing, then you're listing, okay, well, I need to make sure my workouts are accounted for maybe on an every other day basis. So if I didn't work out today, then it needs to be bumped up to number 1 tomorrow. Or if I did work out today, I could take it off my list for tomorrow. That's the idea, is listing out everything we want to do so we're fully aware of it. We then list how often does this need to be done, and then we start to plug and play the pieces every day when we wake up. It doesn't take long to prioritize your top 1, 2, or 3 things per day. You can do this in under 30 seconds every morning. You can do it while you're brushing your teeth. The idea is that every day, what we need to do can sometimes be modified and changed. So maybe I like to work out in the morning every day at 6 a.m. But I have a random doctor's appointment that I have to go to at 7 a.m. today. There's no way I'm going to get my workout in. But I know that I want to get my workout in. Do I need to schedule it later today? Or can I actually take today off? Maybe I don't even need to do it today. Maybe I can do it tomorrow and then make sure I do my other workout the very next day, and then I'm right back on track. Our goal is to keep in sight, in our mind, what matters most. So having a priority list is extremely helpful, so that way as we're navigating, when do I do laundry, when do I cook, we don't forget to do our workout. We don't forget bigger, more important elements. Another component of when we're setting our priority list is focusing on long-term perspective. So we know that we want to set up our priority list, not necessarily on a daily basis. Maybe it's every couple days, every weekdays or weekends or a week. We know there's some variety, variableness to how we might want to set up our to-do list. And then also we want to think about the perspective. I don't want to think of today in isolation from my future. When we think of our priority list, we often think, what is the most important thing I'm doing today? But based on what time frame? So often people pursue in short sight what is most important, and they forget the long-term sight, the long-term vision. What we want to ask ourselves is, what is going to be important to me in a year from now, in 5 years from now, in 10 years from now? I have many clients over the years and currently who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who are negatively impacted by not prioritizing their health in their 20s and 30s. They didn't prioritize exercise, strength training, maybe nutrition. And now in their later years, they're suffering consequences for that. And they're struggling with learning now, how do I prioritize those elements when I haven't been doing that for decades? They're having to relearn life later in life because they didn't include these elements earlier in life. Our goal is, the second you're listening to this podcast, is to recognize I have to do today based on what's important 10 years from now. So we want to look at our priority list knowing that we don't have to do everything in one day. We can spread it out throughout the week, however we need, as long as it's accounted for. And we want to decide on our priorities not based on what's most important today or next week or next month, but what's important in 10 years, what's important in 5 years, what's important in 1 year. Our physical health is often the number one thing that's sacrificed in the now, but becomes the number one thing that's most important the longer vision that we use, the longer term down the line that we look. 10 years, 5 years, 1 year. When we look later in life, your strength, your mobility, your physical health quality matters increasingly more and more as time goes by. But it is the easiest thing to skip today. You skipped your workout today, who cares? You're not going to really notice, you're not going to feel that difference. You skip a meal today, who cares? You're not going to really notice, you're not going to really feel that difference. Maybe by the end of the day you're a little hungry, so you just eat a little extra food, gain a little extra body fat, but it's so small, you never really notice. You're not going to feel that tomorrow. You're not going to feel that after a week or two. You do it a couple more days, a couple more days, a couple more days, a couple more months, a couple more months, a couple more years, and all of a sudden you look in the mirror and you go, who the hell is that? And you want to make changes. You want to get back to a healthy version, but you've neglected your healthy version for days, weeks, months, years. It's going to take days, weeks, months, years to get it back. So often, the most important thing long term is our physical health. But the easiest thing for us to skip is our physical health. People skip in the now what they are going to need in the future. It happens all the time. So I'd really encourage you, if you're saying that you're struggling with time as your excuse, is to recognize that time isn't the problem. It's how you're using your time and or what you're expecting from your time. We want to create a priority list. List every single thing that you're trying to do. List how often it needs to be done. Then start to list it in priorities. Like, does this matter more than this based on 5 years from now or 10 years from now? There might be some things that are urgent. That's fine. Fit them in when you can. But not everything is urgent. Not everything is based on what needs to be done in the next 24 hours. So we do need to recognize the difference between importance versus urgency. Urgency is something that needs to be done immediately. Maybe it's not the most important, but it has a timeline on it, right? So you have to address it. So separate out what's important versus urgent. Not everything can be urgent. Not everything needs to be urgent. Not everything actually is urgent. So take care of the urgent things as they come up, as you need, but make sure you don't lose sight of the important things. And then in everything that's on your list, go through the 4 Ds. We want to delete. Is there anything that you're doing that really, when you look at the greater scheme of things, when you look at everything in totality, you're like, yeah, you know what? I really don't need to be doing this. I liked it for some reason, or I felt obligated to do it for some reason, but it's not serving me anymore. Maybe I need to delete this. Defer. Maybe we're doing something more often than it really needs to be done now that we sat down and kind of looked at it. And we're like, man, I'm doing this every day, but I could probably get away with doing this every other day. Or if I did it in this way, it would account for 3 or 4 days. So I do that with Meredith and my food. Like, I cook the food for us. And one of the things I cook for Meredith for lunch is pasta and with chicken. And I'll cook her 4 days worth at one time. Because it turns out that 2 boxes of pasta can be boiled in the pan size that we have. 2 boxes of pasta get separated into 4 meals. And then the size pan we have to cook the chicken fits about 1.6 pounds of chicken. So I can kind of blend it all together. And it basically ends up making 4 days worth of food. She can then eat that in 4 days, and then she decides if she wants a different lunch for the next 4 days or not. It's a good enough frequency. If I could do it and spread it out over a week, sure. But then I don't want her feeling stuck to do it for a week, and then I don't want to have to buy extra pots and pans and do all the extra work, and I know I'm lazy, but I also just don't have the need to do it. But I do it in 4-day increments. There you go. That's an example. Could I do it in fewer increments? Yes, but that would take more time because I'd be cooking every day. Could I do it in larger increments if that became necessary? Absolutely. I could totally do that. But the idea is what I'm doing, I can defer by doing it more efficiently. So if I cooked 4 days worth of food, I then deferred 3 days of cooking to that fourth day, right? We can also delegate. We don't have to do everything that we do. So one of the ways I delegate, for example, is to use Instacart. I will have somebody else do my grocery shopping for me. It is cheaper for me to save the time to do work and make sure clients I have are satisfied, do extra marketing to bring in new clients. It makes more financial sense for me to not spend that time shopping. So I will pay someone else to shop for me so I can do what I do and make more money. That's basically the idea of that. So I can delegate that out. And for me, one of the limitations or hesitations I'd have about delegation is, would I be able to make more money doing what I do and paying someone else to do this thing? If I can pay someone else to do something with less money than what it costs me to do it, like loss of opportunity wise, then I'm certainly going to delegate that out. Another delegation is if you're struggling to get enough done and you have teenage kids, guess what? You're going to ask them to do it. So if you're doing your teenage kids' laundry, it's time to teach them how to do laundry. They're going to need to know how to do that at some point in their life. Why not teach them now? If you're cooking them dinner every night during the week, tell them, hey, guess what? You get to do Wednesdays now, or Tuesdays, or Thursdays, whatever it is. Say, I want to teach you how to cook a meal, and then I would like you to cook this tomorrow on your own. They need to learn how to be functioning adults. Why not teach them now rather than waiting until they're adults and then they're dysfunctional and then trying to fix it? So let's solve the problems before they become problems. How about that? But that's an opportunity. You can also talk to a spouse. If you have somebody else in your life, say, hey, I'm overwhelmed in this area. Do you mind if we share some efforts here? And, if they're your spouse, they probably love you, and they'll probably go ahead and join in on that. You guys can exchange back and forth, maybe a little bit. Maybe they need help in one area, and you don't mind helping in that. So there's always a little, give and take and ways in which we can help each other. So we went through the 3 Ds so far, which is to delete, defer, and delegate. And the last one is do. If we're going to do something, we don't want to just continue to do it blindly. We want to do it in the most efficient way. We want to continue to think of, can I better my best? Can I do this in a better way? And continuing to ask that question and be open to opportunities and insights that we see and learn and hear from others. The idea is that if we believe time is our limiting factor, it is not. The people who have what you want to have do not have more time than you. The people who do not have that thing, it isn't because they don't have enough time. Again, time does not change for anyone. Time is a 100% consistent thing. You can't get more of it. You can't have less of it. It is just it. It is it. What we struggle with is, am I expecting too much within the time that I'm spending doing the things I'm doing? Or am I trying to do too much? I'm not prioritizing well with what I am doing. So we want to look at just better prioritizing and better spending our efforts. And then if we know we're doing the best we can towards the things that mean the most, whatever doesn't get addressed, we can accept that and say, yeah, I'm doing the best I can. If that's not getting addressed, I maybe, is it necessary? Again, we can look at deleting it. Maybe what I'm doing, if I defer a few things, if I modify a few things, I can make time, quote unquote, make time to fit in something else. Maybe I need to delegate that out. I'm listing it as something that I need to do, but I never get time to do it. Then maybe it's not my thing to do. Maybe I can ask somebody else to do that. If we list everything we're trying to do, how often it needs to be done, what is most important in 10 years from now, then when we have that list in that order, we go through the 4 Ds. Delete, defer, delegate, and then if you're going to do it, continue to try to do it in a way that becomes the most efficient way possible. If you're uncertain if you're doing it in the most efficient way, read books, listen to podcasts, and talk to people who have been successful in what you want to achieve. One of the things I found in business development is there are people who are successful in business in a way in which I would like to be successful. But often there are trade-offs. And in a lot of cases, I'm not willing to make the trade-off they are. So maybe they don't have great, like a spousal relationship. I'm not willing to make that trade. Maybe they are doing their personal training businesses and they're doing it like they're working with 200, 300, 400 clients because they template everything. Maybe that's not what I'm comfortable with. Maybe I'm not comfortable with sending everybody the exact same program and having some people feel mental anguish because it doesn't fit them and they feel like a failure because the program doesn't work for them. I will not take someone's money and knowingly let them feel like a failure whenever my program would be the problem, not they're the problem. And that's often the case when people get sent templates. Like, if I want to become a bikini athlete, here's a bikini athlete program for 24 weeks. Well, it's set up for 4 days and I can only go 3 days. It's set up for an hour and a half workouts. I really only have time for an hour. It's set up to be able to do this exercise, but I don't have that machine. Or, when I do this, it really bothers my knee, but I'm going to keep trying to do it anyhow and just deal with my knee suffering. There are so many reasons why templated programs don't fit every single individual. So I choose to do individual-based programming because it's what connects with me, and it is the type of trade-off that I'm willing to make. I'd rather have 60 clients who are all happy and doing great, and then figuring out, okay, given this structure, this business structure, how can I maximize the number of people I help? How can I maximize the financial return? So that way I can continue to, save for Meredith and I and have a good life. I do want to be able to balance everything in success as much as I can, but I then do recognize that there are certain things that come with trade-offs. The more extreme I want one thing, the more extreme the consequence has to be in other areas. So I would encourage you to think of that as well. When you're trying to do everything, what are the trade-offs? The more I try to do this one thing, the less I can do of other things. Maybe I'm okay with a blend of everything, and if everything feels like it's 80%, that's actually freaking perfectly successful. The more I try to push to 100% on one thing, I know I have to pull back on other things, and I just need to be aware of that, and if I'm okay with that trade-off. That trade-off often doesn't even have to be all the time, just maybe for a couple weeks or a couple months. If you want to do a competition, for example, you are going to have to feel quote-unquote selfish for a period of time, and that is okay. Talk to your spouse, talk to whoever you need to talk to, tell them, hey, this is a big goal of mine. For the next few months, this is what I'm going to need. This is how I'm going to be able to interact with you. I appreciate your patience with me. I appreciate you understanding that this is best for me. And then afterwards, we'll reevaluate this and maybe we'll find a different balance. So communication helps. Okay, I talked a lot and I hope that it was helpful. I just really encourage you, if you are using time as an excuse, to not do that because you're giving away the control. You're giving away your ability to actually achieve your goal. You want to maintain control. As I said at the beginning, you want to be the problem because you can change you. So look for ways in which you can make adjustments, and I hope that the lessons in today's podcast will help. If you need anything else, just shoot me an email at brutalirongym@gmail.com. I'm always here. I'm always happy to help. I appreciate you listening to the podcast, and for you doing that for me, I will always be available to answer questions for you. If you need anything, let me know. Again, our website as well is www.brutalirongym.com. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. The more people that know about it, the more people will be helped by it. If you like the podcast, you can also consider donating to support that. You can do financial support on a website. You can also buy your supplements from Nutricost.com. That's where I buy mine. You can use the code BrutalIron10 for a 10% discount. And then we get a 10% commission on anything you spend there. So you get great products at a great discount and get back to a great cost. There you go. And then if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.